encourage all of you just to be active, participate. And if I can see your faces, if you can turn on your cameras, I know the laptop cameras are not perfect. They would make you look dark. If you meet me in person, I'm not this dark, like the screen is showing me. You can actually differentiate from the picture. So feel free if you're in an environment where you can keep your camera on. It would be nice to just put the face to the people that we are talking to. There are so many of you, but I'm good at remembering faces. At the moment, I'm in Lusaka. I might even run into you. Anyway, just a brief introduction about who Mumba is. I'm a mom, wife, student, entrepreneur. I do so many things. Yeah, so my background is microbiology. I did my bachelor's in microbiology at the University of Zambia. That was somewhere, I think, 2010. Maybe some of you were still in high school, primary school, I don't know. So after my bachelor's, it actually took me a long time to go for master's. There was this misconception that you can't go direct into masters where you're going to get a job with your bachelor's. You need to work and gain experience. So that's the thing that I had with me. So I started working in the food industry. The microbiology I did is general microbiology, which allows me to work anywhere. I've done internship in the hospital labs. I've worked for research institutes, but then I was directed. I think I fell so much in love with the food industry. So I've been working in the food sector for more than 11 years. Yeah, so fast forward, I went back to UNZA for my master's in food safety and risk analysis. And during that time, I was one of the privileged students to actually get scholarship to do part of my master's in Norway at the Norwegian University of Life Sciences, which was a very, very good experience. And this is something that I would like to bring out as you go through these academic journeys. You definitely have these opportunities coming up. It's up to you. I was among the best five master's students in my intake under the School of Vet, where that program was being offered. So in whatever you do, give it your best. You never know. I never knew I would find myself in Norway doing part of my master's. And these are things where you just go like, oh yeah, let me just do the masters for the sake of gaining extra knowledge in food safety. But then as you go through your masters, you need to determine which path. It's not just a master's. I mean, I'm a microbiologist. I would have gone for a master's in medical microbiology. I would have gone maybe environmental microbiology. But then because working in the food industry actually gave me this exposure, I fell in love with the food industry and getting exposed to food safety, which wasn't even part of my training at undergraduate, is actually what even motivated me to go for the master's. And 6 months after my master's, I decided to go for my PhD. I'm currently doing my PhD at Wageningen University in the Netherlands. So my PhD allows me to do research in Zambia. Then I do all the learning and everything else in the Netherlands. I'm actually going back in May. I'll be there for quite some time. Yeah, so I also work for the Zambia Bureau of Standards. I'm sure most of you have heard of ZABS, or you might know what ZABS is. I'm a food safety auditor. I audit different food and beverage industries. Yeah, so in terms of academics, that is my background. I thought I just share with you before we get into the presentation. So what we've prepared for you is just something that will guide you. It's flexible information, whether you're in life sciences. I know some of you might have joined from different fields of science or maybe even social sciences. Yeah, but we are here just to share with you because we've also been through this journey. Yeah, coming from undergrad and you have no idea of what steps to take next. All right. So moving on, I don't know if the slides are moving. Are you able to? Okay. All right. As my colleague already mentioned, there is a bigger gap. You're done with your degree. You end up sitting home. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to start from. And we are here to help give that direction. So in today's session, we are basically going to focus on the career paths beyond academia. What do you need to do in terms of life sciences careers? What are the skills? What are the practical steps that you need to take after you're done with your degree or master's, even PhD? I was hoping we could get a few PhDs on this, but I think majority are just the undergrad and masters, which is all good. Yeah, so in terms of life sciences, it's broad. There are so many places where you can work. If I go back to our time in microbiology, so most of us picked microbiology as a plan B because we couldn't make it into med school or other medical fields. And there was this direction. We were actually guided that after microbiology, you could actually go to Ridgeway campus and upgrade into medicine. What do you call it? Is it human surgery? Because medicine is broad. I don't know what you call it. Is it Bachelor of Human Biology or something like that? Because we lacked knowledge on this. When you take a career in life sciences, the industry is waiting for you. We have so many industries where you can practice. We have research and development. Research and development is not just at universities. There are a lot of industries doing research. We have maybe the pharmaceuticals, industry where they are doing drug trials, even in the medical sector, the food sector, we have so many of them. And there is also science communication. This is something you'd be wondering, probably like science communication. I'll talk about this in details. And then we have the clinical research or probably the medical research. And there's the part where you have regulatory affairs, policy, and consulting. This is similar to my job because I work for Zambia Bureau of Standards, and I make sure that factories are following our standards, even the international standards. And then we have the biotech and data science. On this one, Munda is going to share so much because his field is actually in bioinformatics. And then we have science management. I'll go in deep details, and there's academia. So in terms of industry and research and development, I've put these together because research and development is not only in the research centers. In Zambia, we have ZARI, Zambia Agricultural Research Institute. We have NISA, National Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research. And we have so many of them that you'd even be surprised you'd fit in. So it's a field that cuts across. We have industries like the pharmaceutical industries. If you've done pharmacy, if you are a microbiologist, yeah, maybe let's say chemist, these are fields you can work in. There's agriculture. There are so many scientists doing research in agriculture. There's a lot of technologies going on. There's some genetics going on to make sure there are drought-resistant crops that have been built. And then you have the experts that have gone into soil biology, soil chemistry, soil physiology, and so on. And agriculture also covers animal science. So if you're going to go that direction, you have all these the vets, you have people that are just specialized in dealing with animals, and also the food safety experts. So if you go for a career in food safety, let's say masters like what I did, you'll be exposed to different industries, including the farms, including these poultry houses, all these abattoirs, and so on. And the food processing, of course, which is a growing sector in Zambia. There's so much going on, and I have worked closely with these. I have worked in a food processing factory before, even a feed processing factory. And I now ensure that all these factories implement international standards. And most of these factories are looking for experts to help with the implementation of these standards. I'm sure we've heard of quality control, quality assurance. These are fields that you can take up with your expertise. You go with it. I know there is this question mark, like I do not have the experience. How am I going to get a job in quality assurance or research and development? So I would want to emphasize on internship. So the moment you get done with your, is it your bachelor's degree or your master's degree, if you don't have the work experience, go to the industry, go to the research institutes. Most of these factories and industries actually don't even require much. All you need is just an application letter. You take it to the HR at that particular food industry, and then you're good to go. Learn as much as possible. And once you show your commitment, dedication, most of the industries would actually prefer to recruit from previous interns. So in my previous jobs, at some point would actually just pick from the interns whenever we had openings, positions that came up, and most of these industries have got labs, and being scientists, you've got this experience in the lab that you've gained from school, and also when you go for internship, you're going to build on that. So you could end up being a lab manager somewhere. So this is the industry and the R&D careers which are waiting for you. And you also need to find mentors in these fields. If you want to go to bioinformatics, biotechnology, you go to Munda. If you are in the food, you want to go in the food and agriculture direction, I'm here. You can reach out. I'll be able to share my email on the chat. So we've talked so much on the industry, research, and development. If you've got questions, type them in the chat. I'm sure Munda will be able to see them. And at the end, we'll look at them. We'll have our very beautiful discussion and just answer to all your questions. So in terms of regulatory policy and consulting, We have rules in the country, we have laws which have been put up, and we need people to help implement or enforce those laws which have been put up. We have policies. If you're coming from the food sector, because I'm from the food sector, we have the Food Safety Act, which was enacted in 2019. So this sits with the Ministry of Health, but then it's also been regulated by the council. We have institutions like the Zambia Compulsory Standards Agency. These are the people that would look into different commodities on the market, checking if they are complying with the standards. And then we have the Zambia Bureau of Standards, where I work. We develop the different standards ranging from food, engineering, chemicals. It's quite a number of standards that we've developed, including fertilizers and so on. So now, if industries want to implement these standards and get certified to them, the Zambia Bureau of Standards would look for experts like myself to recruit in implementing these to ensure that the factories that are getting certified actually conforming to the standards. And they also look for experts that are going to develop these standards. So you could be in the pharmaceuticals industry, you could be in the medical industry. Let's say ZABS wants to develop a standard for maybe a certain drug. They are going to look for people in pharmacy to develop these standards. They'll look for experts and so on. In terms of law, we have like certain violations, like violations against food. Let's say you are a factory and you've violated proceedings, your food is contaminated and so on. You're being sued. So they'll probably need experts to come on board and explain, help understand what it implies and to the extent at which these laws should be followed and so on. So all this, and in terms of consultancy, you can be an independent consultant. I am an independent consultant. On the side, I also consult for different organizations and companies that would require my expertise, just like I was reached out on this topic. Yeah, I got the invite to come and speak about this. So you can do that. You can be good at a certain field and you work independently. You register your company and you consult for the government. You can consult for various companies and industries. So another field that is growing, I'm sure we've all heard of AI. We've even used some AI tools in our academics, in our studying. AI is actually a growing field, and it's actually a very powerful field or tool. It's got so many tools which are very powerful in terms of life sciences and data science. So, for example, when you look at computational biology, this is where you bring in the mathematics to solve complex systems like metabolic pathways in the body, which you can't easily understand as a human being, but then you use the machines to actually make it simply to simplify it for you. So this part, I'll hand over to Munda, who's actually an expert. He's going to shed some more light on this. I'm sure he'll be so passionate about it. All right, over to you.
Thank you, Mumba. I don't even want to distort the flow of the conversation, but It's really good to learn more about what uh, you are doing as well and where you're coming from. I just have a quick question before I comment. How long did it take you to get your first job after your bachelor's degree?
Okay, so I graduated in 2014 from microbiology. I stayed home for 6 months, and actually, you'll be shocked. My first job of like not official was in construction. My cousin's company, they were building the roads in the eastern province in Petauke. So he called me, no, you can come in as my personal assistant and all that. Yeah, so I went there, and then it was something away from my field. But then I was like, okay, I need a bit of money. And then for 6 months, I was working there. Then I came across an ad on Go Zambia Jobs, which is very famous, popular. So with the Go Zambia Jobs, they wanted a quality assurance manager. It was one of the Indian factories. It's called Essential Commodities, opposite Cargill or former Zamanita, for those of you that in Lusaka are familiar with the industrial area. So this job required so much, so many things that I had no idea of, like the food safety aspect. They needed somebody to implement good manufacturing practices. They needed somebody to implement hazard analysis and critical control point, HACCP, and to set up a lab for them, quality assurance lab. I was actually doubting myself. I didn't know whether to go for the interviews or not, apply for it. But then my family was like, just research, go on Google, read a bit more about it. Yes, I went on Google, read about it. I checked out those, is it interview questions? And then when I went to the interview, I had to have an interview one on one with the owner of the company, the late Salim Dauji. Very tough man. I was there. He interviewed me and he tells me, you have zero experience. How are you going to convince me that you're going to do the job? So the first thing I told him was that being a degree holder made me trainable. I could be trained in anything, and I was willing to learn, and they would benefit from me being a microbiologist. They needed to set up a microbiology lab, and coming with this background of microbiology that would really help. Yeah, so it was really something I didn't know whether I was gonna get the job or not, because I was competing against people with experience, and this was a managerial position. I was going to manage the entire company of, I think, more than 100 people, guide them on food safety and HACCP. Yeah, so fast forward, I went home. I probably didn't even think I would get the job. Before the end of the day, I got the job. I reported on Monday. So luckily, at the time that I was joining, the company was undergoing mentorship by TechnoServe. If you've been in the food industry, you would maybe have an idea of what TechnoServe is. It was in Zambia, but they left, America-based NGO. They would help different factories implement standards. So from there, that's when I got exposed to all the trainings in food safety, good manufacturing practices, and so on. And by the way, I was only 23, getting a position as a manager, and I was the only female at that factory, the only degree holder. And then I had to deal with people that were old enough to be my father, grandfather, and then in an environment where you're the only female. I had to develop tactics to stay safe. I had
Mm,
to make sure everybody was in the father, brother, uncle zone.
yeah.
So I became like everybody's younger sister or daughter. And I had to bring myself down to the level of the uneducated, or should I don't know, I don't want to use a word that would be like, I don't know what word I would use, yeah, but you know what I mean. So I had to get down, start speaking Nyanja, Bemba, and I have Tongan heritage from my mom's side. So if I met a Tonga, I would joke about it, oh, my brother, whatever. I wouldn't use the English and all that, just to fit in and not to intimidate colleagues. Of course, in the beginning, there would be some intimidation, being a female and being very young. You have to tell people what to do. So I
Mm,
had to come to that level where you make them understand that this is actually for the better of the factory. So
yeah.
that worked out well. And because of these interactions, being humble, working with these people, one of the production supervisors came to me. He was like, Msonda, they used to call me Muzo. So I was like, oh, Muzo, you actually have a degree. Why are you wasting your time here? I had worked for only almost like 2 years. That was in 2017. I was like, yeah, I have a degree. And he goes like, no, Novatech Animal Feeds wants a lab and quality manager. I know you would qualify. They've advertised, but I can share your CV with the operations manager if you're up for it. It was a new factory they were opening in Mpongwe. Yeah,
Mm,
so I shared. I didn't know that it would actually work out. The following week, I got a call from Novatech Animal Feeds. I went there for the interviews, and because I had now been exposed to the industry, the experience, and the trainings that I got from TechnoSave, I was able to actually pass the interview. I competed again against people that had been in the interview for a long time.
mm,
Yeah, so that's how I got the job at Novatech. I was told to report in the Lusaka office and get the training and all that. Yeah, fast forward, I got lucky. The person that was a lab and quality manager for the Lusaka office went for her master's in Belgium. So I was recommended to stay in that position. And my time at Novatech, I rose to food safety manager, which was a higher position. After working for 3 years with them, I was there for almost, I think, 5 years plus, and it was time for me to move. So we'll talk about it later on the next step, like how long
sure.
you should stay in one environment. Yeah, so
Awesome.
anyway, over to you. You can talk a bit more about this before I go to the next topic, the next field.
Definitely. I think it's pretty good to have that rich background because I guess the one of the biggest struggles is when you are in university. It's almost like you're in a very small space, and you really can't see that. You don't have that bird's eye view of what companies exist, what industries exist. And so it even gets worse if you don't start asking the important questions while you are in university. Questions like, okay, I'm pursuing this degree in molecular biology. Where am I going to apply it? Which institutions in my country can accept my qualifications, or where can I go for an internship? So, at least for a number of students, you find universities just going through it and then figure it out afterwards. I would have loved to also know what your experience is in terms of that transition. If you would go back to university, bachelor's, day one, what would you do differently to prepare you for the world soon after? But I guess that's something we can chat about some other time. In my case, I would tie the response to a bit of my experience, maybe in just a few minutes or so. So I pursued my bachelor's degree in Uganda in biochemistry, and like you, it was because I didn't get the government scholarship for medicine or natural sciences, I would say. So I had to figure out what to do with my high school results. So I found myself in Uganda pursuing a bachelor's degree that I had no idea of. I didn't know what a biochemist does or did. It was very confusing. And we went in there, we were learning molecular biology, DNA stuff, bioinformatics, and others, and a lot of biotechnology as well. But in my second year, I got to interact with one of the lecturers who was really open minded. And fortunately for me, he was very kind enough to share his experiences. And so he was asking me questions that were really bothering me. That, okay, you are studying biochemistry. Where are you going to apply that and that kind of a thing? So it took me to really research the country, Zambia, and understand where I would be. So in preparation for the life after graduation, I did a lot of attachments while doing my program. My program required two mandatory attachments, but I think I did something like five of them. And for me, it was very strategic because I wanted to build a CV of some kind, right? And fortunately, I got to a space where after graduation, I submitted my CV to NISA. I actually went there looking for uh, an internship. And I was called to say, hey, we've seen your CV and we are looking for somebody with these particular skills. And that was my journey. So I guess in a nutshell, I would just say if you are still in university and you're trying to think about questions that would be important, one of them would be where does your degree apply and what can you do now to start preparing for that? So I moved from my bachelor's. I got a scholarship with the African Union. I was doing my master's degree in Kenya, Nairobi. So I have a master's degree in molecular biology and biotechnology. And my master's project is what introduced me to what I would call interesting concepts in biotech and data science and maybe digital careers, right? So I worked on a project in vaccinology, and that was a time of COVID as well. So that's biotech essentially. When you talk about anything that has to do with you coming up with products either for human health or animal health or maybe agricultural output, that's essentially biotechnology. And the techniques that go behind that, maybe it can be manipulation of the DNA and everything in between. When it comes to bioinformatics, it's basically how do you manage the biological data that you get from these living systems, either from human beings or from plants or from animals or other living organisms like bacteria, etc. We have DNA, we have proteins, and we have metabolites. How do you manage all that information? And surprisingly, at this point in our world, we are generating more biological data than we have the people to be able to process that data. And that is why careers in bioinformatics have shot really high and the demand is fairly high. Even the institution where I am here, they were looking for bioinformaticians, right? And so, in order to be able to handle that biological data, fortunately technology also evolves. We now have AI and machine learning that is very, very interesting because it can be able to find patterns and analyze all this important biological data. And to some point, not perfectly, to some point, because a lot of the points you also need a lot of human intervention. So I would give an example to conclude of what I do in terms of research. My PhD is in translational cancer genomics. I'm studying colorectal cancer. So essentially, what we have samples from patients who have cancer of the colon or colorectal cancer. We have to isolate DNA from there, and then we have to take that DNA for what we call sequencing. What will get are sequences afterwards, but then we need to understand the characteristics of that tumor or the patient sample. So we go into bioinformatics, and a lot of what is also helping for us to be able to understand the data and make sense of it is the AI, because it's able to process the information. And the end goal is for us to be able to maybe classify patients better or give recommendations to clinicians on what better approaches they can take to be able to improve the outcomes of the patients. So biotech is large, it's broad, it can be in agriculture, human health, animal health, but if you are looking to really build a career in that, I think it would be good to read more about bioinformatics, data science, and AI. And if you have any questions, we have the WhatsApp group. Just reach out. Over to you, Mumba.
Mm, yeah, that's interesting. And the bioinformatics, the genetics is actually a field that is very broad in life sciences, because even in my PhD, I'm doing a lot of molecular biology, the genetics, and so on. And there are all these softwares that I have to work with that I had no idea. Because during our time at undergraduate, would do courses in DNA technologies and all that, but then you wouldn't do the practical aspect of it. And then you come to your PhD and you find the PCRs and everything that are actually complicated, but it's a learning process. And if you're interested in this field, I think it's a field that you would maybe intern for and grow. And just to emphasize on internship, I think back then there was what they were calling student attachments with other institutions. I know UNZA never used to do the attachments for our field, but other universities would actually send you into the industry or hospitals. If you're in the medical sector, you work for maybe 3 months or so on. You don't need to wait to get done with your degree, or yeah, you could actually utilize your school break or vacation. You apply even just for a month. I've had interns working like maybe a month and so on. Even at ZABs at the lab would have interns would come in for maybe 1 month. They do some training and they get back to school. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of stuff, and this is an interesting career which I feel is has got so much potential to grow: science communication and management. I know all of us have got social media handles, or I don't know what you call them. You've got the Facebook, you've got LinkedIn, TikTok, and so on. You can make use of them. And I'm sure you've heard of monetization. Unfortunately, in Zambia, Facebook is not monetized. But when I'm in the Netherlands, my account is monetized. So it's just funny how when I'm back, they tell me we can't pay you and so on. So you can utilize these platforms. You talk about science. There are a lot of new discoveries in science. There's so many discoveries, so many pandemics coming up. We have a lot of issues you can talk about. Right now, I'm trying to think of the most trending thing happening in science. I don't know, but then we had COVID. You can talk about that. I remember I did the time we had aflatoxin poisoning in Zambia. People's dogs were dying after consuming, is it Ishima? I don't know what they were being fed, if it's Ishima or whatever. Yeah, but it was traced back to Minimil. So my master's topic was in line with aflatoxins. I looked at them. So I did this video on aflatoxins. If you go to my Facebook page, even now you find it. And that was like the most viewed video I've ever had. And from there, it motivated me to actually make my posts more scientific and just share the knowledge. So there are so many things you can do. And other than just doing this science journalism or whatever on your own, you could actually write for a newspaper. You can have a talk show on these television stations. You can become a celebrity like Dr. Mujajati. We have all these doctors that are talking about science. And now there's, what's the name? Dr. Kunda. Yeah, so you have a lot of this. You can be an influencer in the science field. And then scientific communication. This is in line with communicating important information. If you notice during the time of COVID, would have like maybe Minister of Health, Dr. So and so communicating about COVID, experts that are knew so much about COVID. So you become an expert. The government could actually consult you to communicate certain information. They could invite you to have talk shows on certain topics, on radios, and so on. And you get paid. You could also write. We have journals if you're in research. I mean, you're doing your master's, or you're doing your bachelor's, even PhD, you need to publish your work. It helps a lot with creating an impact in the scientific community. Your findings could actually help a lot of issues going on. You can also write in newspapers, and we even have, what do you call them, podcasts. There are so many ways in which you can communicate. And there is also project management. So because you reach a certain point in science, you'll be called upon to manage certain projects. You'll be called in as a consultant to give your expertise. You could actually even do short courses in project management. But as you grow in your career, if you've been in the management career, because I'll give an example of myself. I've never really worked under someone. I've always been managing people. And from that experience, I've grown with all these management skills. And I'm still thinking of maybe adding in an MBA or whatever I can add on to help me improve my management skills. We'll talk about this later. So this is people's favorite in the life sciences. I remember during our time, we all wanted to do medicine, and for some of us, it would be like, no, you have to be a doctor, you have your 7 points, you have to be a pharmacist, and all that. It is a very good career that you can go into. For those of you that are studying, is it medicine or medical related courses, you can go into clinical research, or you can work in these hospitals, and also academia. You can teach in this field. So the medical sector is quite broad, and you begin to specialize. When you're done with your bachelor's, is it Bachelor of Surgery? Those of you that are doing the medicine, I'm sure you've noticed they begin to expose you to different clinics. Today you've been gynecology, you've been maybe physiology, whatever you call it. You go to one section after another. So you have to see where you want to grow. The bachelor's degree will give you the foundation. So it's like a foundation. And now you begin to build. Which direction do I go to? Because if you look at how these bachelor programs or courses you've been taking have been designed, you find that you have maybe food microbiology, industrial microbiology, there's an aspect of parasitology, virology, and so on. And it's up to you now. Where do you want to go after you've done your homework? Is it Talia? Kindly mute your mic. Okay. Yeah, so you pick where you want to go, and you build from there. So in terms of academia, we hear academia, we think of, oh, lecturing. There's so much in academia. There's a lot of research going on. When you become a lecturer, you research on so many things. You do collaborations with different universities. You have all these grants coming in. You work with the community. You can be called upon as an academician to give your expertise. Even at ZABS, when we are developing standards, we actually call on the academia, would call certain lecturers in the certain fields in which we want to develop standards on. So it's not just about being in class and you're there, you're lecturing people. It's a lot involved. Okay, so I'm sure Munda has been picking a lot of questions in the chat. While I'm talking, I hope you've been picking a lot of questions. We'll answer them at the end. I would like to proceed. Now that we've talked about all these possible directions on what you can do, beyond academia, you need to actually learn a lot of skills that are going to help you. So you need to work on your communication and presentation skills. I'm sure you've noticed that my presentation is not crowded, and I'm sure you've been enjoying the pictures and so on. So this is a presentation skill that I had to learn during my studies in Europe. So usually with the Zambian presentations, you'd put a lot of context, you put a lot of writing and all that. So I remember one time doing my presentation the way I would do it when I'm home. And then I got comments being told, no, we can read and all that. Yeah, literally just reading what you're presenting. Would want you to actually be more engaged, would want you to explain more. And the pictures actually speak a lot. When I look at communication and presentation, I'll look at the picture and I'll talk about the points that I want to share. So even as you do your presentation for your projects, limit on the words. Make it more pictorial. Your audience has to be engaged. They are going to get bored if they are not seeing pictures and they are reading. Yeah, so you need to learn how to do presentations and even just the way you present yourself. I'm in an online meeting, but at least I've made these efforts to look presentable to you. Otherwise, as a scientist, I would have just been here with my cornrows, t-shirt. But then I understand I'm talking to a very important audience. I have all these academicians, the students, the bachelors and masters. What example am I going to set up? I come to the webinar looking all scruffy and all that. Even when you go to the interviews, you have to dress smart. You're not going to be casual. You're not going to look scruffy. It's not about how you present yourself and the communication as well. You need to learn how to communicate with different people. I gave an example of me being the only female, the only educated person, the only person with a degree at that factory. I needed to learn how to communicate with maybe, let's say, somebody only went up to grade 4. How am I going to communicate with them? And somebody like yourselves who are like doing bachelors, some of you have already acquired your masters, some are pursuing masters. So the audiences would determine how you communicate, even the way I would talk. I wouldn't be communicating with you. I'm not looking at you. If it's in person, I have to keep you engaged. And the other skills you need to learn are leadership and teamwork. It starts from the foundation, and you'll be wondering, oh, I'm just a bachelor student. How do I become a leader? There are so many ways. I'll give you an example of myself. I used to be Unza Biosa Vice President. That is University of Zambia Biological Sciences Association. So there are all these organizations on your campus. It can even be a church. It can be um, these other groups, and there are so many groups that I've come across. When you go on Facebook, you find there's maybe young women of Africa, which is a group I'm part of. You find there's young men's whatever. You begin to join these groups and you begin to engage. You build all these teamwork and even leadership. It can also be in your lab. You have maybe these lab groups, and then you volunteer to be maybe the lab, is it representative, even the class representative. You're going to build all these leadership skills. You have so many platforms. There are actually even free platforms. You can check on Facebook. You find they have a leadership training, and some of them can be, let's say, 100 kwacha, 50 kwacha to take part. And you have free webinars like this. You need to search. I'll show you where to search for such kind of information. And you also have to learn project and time management. So you're going to do projects, whether you like it or not, for you to graduate. You need to plan your project, and most universities or institutions, learning institutions, will actually teach you on how to manage your project. We used to have the project course where you're taught on how to manage your project, how to write, and so on. So these are things you need to learn. You need to learn time management. I'll give you an example of myself. I'm a mother, I'm a student, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm an employee. Though right now, luckily, I'm on a study leave until my PhD is done. So you have to plan. You need to write down your goals for the day. When you wake up, let's say you wake up at 5 a.m. If you've been waking up at 7, 8, that's a very bad habit. At least wake up at 5 a.m. Plan your day. What am I going to do? Am I going to have devotion? If you're religious, you pray and all that. Are you going to work out for 20 minutes and then you begin your day? What are you going to do if you're a student? You have class. After class, What are you going to do? Are you going to study? Are you going to hang out with your buddies? Are you going to be on Netflix? Are you going to maybe grab a drink? That's all up to you. You need to plan your time. We have very limited time in the day. So, like right now, I know after this webinar, I have preparations for a meeting that I have tomorrow. So, it's all about how you manage. So, these are important skills that you learn. You can check all these online platforms. You can get books that talk about time management, leadership, communications. You need to read, and you don't even need to read nowadays. You just go on a podcast. You've got YouTube. You just search anything, and it's a very beautiful time that we are living in. You can just go and search anywhere on Google. You can search on LinkedIn. You can search wherever you want to search. Okay, Talia, we're getting a lot of noise from you. Hello, Munda, are you able to mute Talia? Okay. Um, so now you need to develop all these skills, Eddie. I've talked about leadership. You volunteer, you can become president, you can become chairperson, secretary, whatever you can do. And you take short courses. I've seen a question that I saw pop up in the chat in terms of training on standards and all that. This is where you can now either go for free courses or paid up courses on the particular skills that you need to acquire. I'll answer that question in details later. And then you join professional societies like the student associations, even after you are done. So if you are a biological scientist like myself, you'd probably know about ZABSI, Zambia Association for Biological Scientists. I was also president of that association. I think that must have been 2022, 2023. So there are so many professional societies you can join, and there is a lot of networking going on when you join these societies, associations, and whenever there is an event, go for it. You actually begin to learn a lot from people. You meet so many people. Just this Saturday, I'm going for a networking event for young women for Africa. It's one of the associations which I'm part of. So you join so many of them, and you can also look for a mentor. Yeah, I know. I'm sure at the end of this, I'll have people coming to me for mentorship. You need to identify people in your field. You can't come to me, you're an engineer, you may be a medical doctor, and you come to Mumba for mentorship. I might not give you all the information that you need. You can't come to me, I'm not a pharmacist. So you need to identify key people in your field. And also mentorship, yeah, they might not be in your field, but these are people like leaders that could actually guide you. You could learn a lot from them. And you need to be careful with the type of mentors that you go to. You can't go to a brand influencer or what do you call them? Socialites on Facebook unless you want to become one. But if you want to be in this scientific environment or leadership environment, you have to go for mentorship to people that are actually in these fields. We have the Mizingamelus, we have the Dr. Siatwambo exams made easy. You have all these Dr. Mujajatis. There are so many of them that you can actually follow. And mentorship can be one-on-one. It can also be through following videos. You can watch their YouTube videos on Facebook. You can actually learn a lot from that. And you also do internship, especially for those of you that are beginning your journey. You haven't yet gained so much exposure. You can't do away with this. The earlier you do it, the better. And like some of us that didn't even know where to start from, you're done, you're staying home 6 months. They just send you, no, go to Manda Hill, you buy this for us. No, can you drive this, take your nephew to school and all that, when you could actually use that 6 months learning, uh, doing some internship. Yeah, even if they don't pay you, make the efforts. Think of it as training and gaining your experience. So I'll need just a moment to plug my laptop to power.
Awesome. I guess
Okay,
okay.
I'm back. All right. Done. Back on. All right. Where's my camera? Okay. So you need to take the steps. The job won't come to you. You have to look for it. You have to start laying your foundation. The earlier you do it, the better. And looking at the way it is right now, like the times are more flexible, things have changed. It's very easy. You go online, you can search for companies, um, institutions that you want to do your mentorship or your internship from. So some of the important online platforms, learning platforms you can use. You have, I'm sure you've heard of Udemy. If you haven't, you can search for these. They offer online courses which are for free, and if you want a certificate, you pay for it. There's edX, there's LinkedIn Learning, there's Coursera, you've got Allison. There are so many of them. And even when you go on TikTok, you would find some educative videos. If you you go on Google, you're going to find important things. You say maybe leadership skills and so on. There's so much that you can get out of the internet. So instead of watching those funny videos, you find that you're spending maybe an hour or even 2 hours, 3 hours the whole day. You're just on TikTok, you're just watching things that are not even going to build you. It wouldn't help. You could actually utilize these platforms to grow. So, in terms of goal setting, you need to have goals. You need to plan. What is it that you want to do? You start with short-term goals. You look at the between 6 to 12 months. What do you want to achieve? Let's say after your master's or your bachelor's, what's your plan? Do you want to do internship? Are you going to start up a short course in leadership? Is it going to be a business? Maybe. What do you want to do? And you need to have long-term career visions. As I talked about this, when I worked for Novatech, and it was 5 years, I knew I needed to grow. I needed to move. So you need to plan. How long am I going to work here? If you see you're in an institution, you're not growing, you're not being elevated, you need to think outside the box. You need to start planning. What is your next move? Are you going to go back to school, upgrade your qualifications? Are you going to start looking for a job as a manager now that you have the experience, you've grown? What is your plan? Are you going to go into academia? So the way I have always planned from the time that I started working, so my plan was to gain the industrial experience, which I gained in 5 years. So I worked in the industries for 5 years. From there, I had planned I needed to now work in the regulatory industry, and I'm currently working with ZABS, which is though no longer a regulator, but then the implementation of the developing of standards and ensuring that companies adhering to standards. It's the same as regulating standards. And from there, when I'm done with my 5 years, I'm going to go into research and academia. So that would be my end point. I would want to work for maybe the NGOs, like the UN, Food Agriculture Organization. So those are some of my long-term career goals. And once I'm done with that, I'll go now into lecturing and then retire from there. So you need to have like a clear path. Where do you want to start from? You're a medical doctor, for example. Are you going to be in the hospital, or you would from there want to go into research, join CIDAS or these, I don't know, other medical research institutions? What is your plan? And once you set these goals, you need to now review. You adjust where you need to adjust. If you see that you haven't achieved a certain goal, you go back and plan. If plan A doesn't work, there are how many letters in the alphabet? Is it 25 more letters? Plan what? Plan B up to Z. You can try that. And whenever you have progressed, you've made success, you need to celebrate. You need to award yourself. You can go for a drink. If you want, you can have a party, whatever you have to do. This will help you stay motivated. When you set these goals, you need to be smart. There is what we call SMART, SMART. Your goals need to be specific. You can't say, after graduation, my goal is to get a job. What you need to say is, after graduation, my goal is to get a job in the food factory, in the hospital. Be specific. And then you have to measure your goals. They have to be measurable. You have to put a timeline to it. So within 6 months after graduation, I should at least get a job. You've put a measurable goal. And from there, you need to set goals which are attainable. So what you need to do is, let's say within 6 months, I'm going to get a job in a factory. You can't say you're going to get a job in, let's see, maybe a social science related field when you are a scientist. Let's say maybe the judiciary, and you're a scientist, you say you want to be in the courts and all that. That is not achievable or attainable. Put something that you're going to achieve. And then the R is realistic. Be realistic. You can't say after graduation, I need to be a director at a certain factory or the director for UN. You have to be realistic. Uh, Put yourself where you'll be able to what can I say? Where you'll be able to work. You can't start from the top. You haven't gained your experience, and your goals should be time bound. So my goal is to work for this institution for 5 years. My goal is to start my master's 2 years after my bachelor's. You've put the time to read. We'll look at an example. So this is an example, straightforward, that I picked up from the internet. So this is the smart that I'm talking about. So this person was specific. They said, I will start an online blog, which is specific. They could have even been more specific if they said, I would start an online blog on Facebook, YouTube, and so on. And they measured this that they're going to generate 30% increased revenue from their blog. So they've put a measurable goal. And then it's attainable. They said, I'll set up my blog, promote my business, and build relationships with clients, which is attainable. You obviously put up a paid ad on Facebook or whatever platform, and you engage with your clients. And then it's relevant or realistic. So they're saying by additional customers to my business, it will allow me to increase profits, which is very relevant. You need to obviously increase your profits, and you're going to do that by increasing the customers, engaging more people, and timely. I will launch the blog within 2 months. So we can see that these were actually smart goals. So what next after this? After this webinar, what you're going to do is, one, update your CV, whether you're a student, you are an upcoming is it a junior personnel in the industry, and so on. Once you've identified your field of interest, if your field of interest is bioinformatics and you've done a course with bioinformatics, on your CV, you're going to put your educational background. You can even list some of the courses that you've done. If you've done a project in bioinformatics, you can put research work done. You put bachelor's project and so on. You can list that information. It would really help you. If you've done internship in the medical field, pharmaceutical, food, and you want to focus on the food industry, you can make sure your CV is directed towards the food industry. You put the responsibilities that you had when you were doing that particular internship. And LinkedIn is actually a very big tool that you can use. And just by you being on LinkedIn, you're going to be spotted. I have had experiences, people reaching out in my inbox in LinkedIn, offering me jobs. No, we've looked at your profile. You suit the profile that we are looking for this position. Could you come through for an interview? So you begin to put yourself out there. You're advertising yourself. The type of information you put matters. You can't be on LinkedIn and the picture that is there is not professional. It's very discouraging. Put a profile picture that looks professional. You can be in a suit if you want. You can be in your dress, in your graduation gown if you've graduated. And then you now need to attend industry and networking events. I've talked about networking. It's very important. There are so many industries that would actually come up with networking events. I've seen factories like Tradekins, 260 brands, the Saber Foods. put up a post where they would be maybe at UNZA, putting up a networking event, engaging with the students. And sometimes you go on their page, you find they have an open day where they showcase what they do. You can also go to events like the Agriculture and Commercial Show, Trade Fair if you're in on the Copper Belt. You visit the stands of different institutions and companies. You will actually be shocked the amount of information that you're going to pick up from there. And then you conduct informational interviews. So what an informational interview is, it's just a simple chat with a professional, asking them what they do. So you come to me, for example, you just find out about my field, about my career, what I've achieved. You ask me questions. So what should I do if I want to grow in this career? What are some of the opportunities and so on? It doesn't have to be formal, and most of these are informal, where you approach somebody. So you need to know how to approach certain people. You can't come to my inbox and have a lot of questions for me without introducing yourself. You need to, first of all, just say, oh, my name is Ruth. I'm a student. I'm studying this and that. I came across your profile and I'm interested in this. Would you have a moment to chat about this and that? I've had a few people in my LinkedIn, even on Facebook, asking for information. So the approach matters. You have to know how to approach the individuals that you want to talk to. So from this webinar, this is what you're going to do. You're going to now start upgrading yourself. Yes, you're going to start preparing yourself for the industry. You're going to start now building up. So this is just an example of a CV. Your CV should be brief. You don't need to write a whole 10 pages or what. Even 3 pages, 2 pages is enough. So this is a PhD student. They've put up their personal summary. In the personal summary, you talk about the skills that you have, what you've focused on, and then you put your qualifications. If you've done even a course in maybe a computer, whatever can be helpful, you put it there. And you put your educational background and then your work experience, and at the end you put references. So if you look at this CV, the only thing that you're going to see is the name, the address, phone number, email. You're not going to see gender male, aged 21, marital status single. You don't need to add that personal information on the CV. A long time ago, I don't know now if people still do it. You look at somebody's CV, they've put date of birth, place of birth. That is irrelevant. Your potential employers are not looking for that. They are interested in your academic background. They're interested in your what do you call them? Characteristics, like your strengths. What are you good at? Your competencies and all that. So from today onwards, if on your CV you've been doing that, remove the age. They don't need to know the age. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to create your CV. If you need help, you can reach out to your mentors to help you with the CV. And whenever you're doing your references, make sure your reference is somebody that you have a good relationship with, because there are certain individuals that will block you from succeeding. Huh? You can't go and put a reference of somebody you have beef with, or somebody you don't even get along very well, or somebody that doesn't really know you. They are not going to give a good reference about you. So you have to be careful who you put there. All right. So before we go to this, we've talked so much on the careers, what you can do. I know some of you would want to proceed to masters from what is it from bachelor's, and you'd want to go to PhD from masters. So in the next coffee chat that we're going to have, we'll talk about how to apply for all these masters and PhDs, how to find scholarships. But I'll just touch a little bit on it. So what you need to do if you're from bachelor's, you want to go into masters, I would advise you to look at the field that you want to master in, because masters is not like bachelor's where it's just general. You need to have a specific field that you're going to master. No wonder it's called masters. So in my case, I moved from the general microbiology to food safety and risk analysis. And this was because I got motivated with working in the food industry. So it would be really helpful to do some internship or even get a job in that particular field that you want to go and do your master's in. This will give you an idea of what you're going to do. And it has to be something related to your bachelor's. I'm a microbiologist. I can't go and do a master's in, let's say, pharmacy, or maybe I go to law, I go to development studies, which is not related. Of course, I can do project management. I can do business administration if I want to go into business, science related business. I want to put up maybe factories in the food industry. So you have to really be careful with what you pick before you proceed. And I had seen a question in the chat. They were asking if it's okay to go direct into masters and then you before getting a job. So the answer is it's a two-way thing. If you are going to go to masters without getting a job, you should have at least maybe tried internship. And the good part about doing a master's, it is flexible. If you're doing it, let's say locally in Zambia, you can get a part-time job and still do your school. I was doing my master's when I was still working, but then at that point we had COVID, so it was blended online and physical. You can also do an online master's. You can do it abroad, you can do it locally. They do offer those. You can kill two birds with one stone. It's very manageable to actually study, especially masters, and still work. So the other direction is to work, gain some experience, and through your work, you get motivated to actually pick which particular field you want to master in. So moving on to PhD. So PhD is not just about becoming Dr. Msonda in the end, or Dr. Mudenda, or Dr. Elena, Dr. Ruth, Dr. Molly. There is a lot involved. You need to have motivation. There has to be something that is driving you to do a PhD. So when you ask me what motivated me to do my PhD, one, I've seen there is a lot of research gaps in Zambia, and the PhD that I'm working on is related to food. because I've been in the food industry and I've seen there are a lot of research gaps that need to be filled up. So even when that opportunity came, the advert, it wasn't just about going to Europe. I want to go and do a PhD in Europe. It was something that I feel would make an impact on Zambia. I'm researching on Munkoyo. I know if you're Zambian, you know what Munkoyo is, and you'll be wondering like, oh, PhD in Munkoyo. So when you look at Munkoyo, it's all fermentation, and fermentation cannot happen without microorganisms. And me, as a microbiologist, I am studying how best those microbes can be utilized in terms of working on the quality of the beverage, as well as how our communities can be empowered, our local communities, because these are indigenous plants and they are found in the rural areas. Even where I was getting my samples, I went as far as Kafue National Park in the game reserve area to dig up the roots. And the local communities have treasured this. So you need to be motivated, and Munkoyo is a product that has potential. We can even export it and all that. When we've studied it, we've nailed the quality, we know the right microorganisms which can be used as starter cultures and all that. So you have to look at it. And one of the goals, when you look at the Millennium Development Goals, is to end hunger. And there's so much potential with fermented foods in Zambia. Munkoyo, Mabisi, name it all, which we can work with and improve the nutritional aspect. So from what I've said, you also need to look at your motivation. And PhD, you pick a topic most of the times. If you're going to do PhD by research, and which is like the case. So PhD is different from masters. Like in my case, I was given a topic and I had to develop a proposal, what can be researched on this particular topic. And I managed the research on my own. So you could be given a topic and you apply for it. They interview you in some PhDs, like PhD opportunities like mine. I needed to go through interviews. I needed to prove to them that I'm the right candidate for the PhD. So it's a very good experience. It's a very good thing if you want to go for it. There's more to it than just becoming doctor and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm very educated. I have a PhD. Yeah, so motivation is what should drive you. Think about what you want to do. You can also apply to a university with your own topic. So if you're done with your master's, you need to start working on your proposal on what you want to research on. You need to identify research gaps. You have to go through literature, read about the topic that you want to go into. What are the gaps? What is still pending? And then you develop a strong proposal. You can apply for grants. You can apply even with locally, I think Ministry of Science and Technology and the higher education, uh, the former bursaries committee. What are they calling it now? I think higher education something. They do offer scholarships and sponsorship. And there are so many opportunities. You just need to align yourself in a particular field. You can either develop your own research proposal and apply for funding or grants, or you can search platforms. We'll talk about this in the next coffee talk on how to find scholarships. Yeah, I think I've talked too much. I'll hand over to